How's it going, Star Seekers? My name's Gotcake and welcome to the channel's very first Shovelware Sunday. Something new that I'm going to try out on the channel, where every Sunday I review one of the many terrible Switch indie games found on the eShop. I recently posted on Reddit asking for people to give me their worst Switch indie games, where I got a decent response and added a few games to my list. But I want you guys and girls to let me know your opinions on what you think are the worst Switch indie games by submitting them in the comments section below. Next Sunday I'll select a game from my list and try it out to see if it really is a terrible game, worthy of a Shovelware stamp of approval. For today's Shovelware Sunday though, I've got a fresh steaming pile of shite from the eStore for you all to enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you all to RMX Real Motocross, a motocross racing game which was originally released on mobile, if you couldn't tell by the graphical feast the game has to offer. As we dive into the menu, we have a few options. Firstly, we can take a look at the costumes, and right away we encounter problems, as it sounds like a button is stuck after selecting markings. Here we have a few extortionately priced markings to select from to customise our biker's look. Heading into the colours menu, we get the same messed up sound effect and get to select from a range of colours. Amongst them we find Piss Yellow, Exorcist Vomit Green and Arsehole Brown. Next we can take a look at the snazzy moves our biker can perform. There are 6 in total, with my personal favourite being the Can-Can. Back in the garage we can take a look at our bike customisation options. Firstly we can see that we have several upgrade parts such as brakes, engines, frames and exhausts, and we have to purchase the first upgrade before we can get the second, and then the second before we can get the third. We also get to change our bike's colour, and I noticed that I had 1 point to spend, so obviously I went for the only sensible option, hot pink. I decided to take a look at the available bike markings, and not only did the sound go a bit apeshit this time, but also the screen. None of the markings were in my price range, so I decided it was time to hit the dirt. But first I wanted to confirm the game's controls. Some nice Joy-Cons, obviously drawn in Microsoft Paint, showed me the basics. The brakes and gas were bound to the triggers, which was all I needed to know, and it was now time to race. But first, it seems that I had to play through the tutorial for a practice before I could race for real, like I'd never played a fucking racing game in my life before. Entering the training race, I was given instructions such as to make a trick, go fast uphill, and be fast, trick has to stop before you land. As I was reading this, the rumble of a fucked sounding bike played in the background. And then this visual treat appeared, and I was counted down to the beep of a car horn before I was let loose on the track. Oh god, that sound. It was as if a billion wasps had decided to build a nest in my ear canals, just fucking awful. So I hit the first ramp and performed a trick, which is done first by holding L, then holding the right stick on a trick, before releasing L. Successfully performing a Superman, I then got told how to do a wheelie, which I managed to do to some degree before veering off course and ploughing into the floor. It was at this point that I discovered that revving your bike also makes this awful fucking barking sound. And I spent the next 30 seconds or so discovering how terrible the handling of the bike was before I realised that I could press the minus button to start the next race. My first race was in Milford, California, where the surrounding environment looked like some kind of barren wasteland straight out of Fallout New Vegas. I was pitted against 3 other bikers, and as we started, the wasp return multiplied 4-fold. If a game could ever be used for sound torture, it'd be this one. And so we raced, bumping over moguls and hills. Each corner was a fucking chore and my bike just did not want to turn. Braking didn't help either. The moment I tried to brake, I just came to a standstill. So in the end, I resorted to what I like to call corner braking, whereby you smash into a corner of the track and let it do the braking for you. Regardless of how shit I did in this race, I still managed to come first. And upon finishing the race, my biker decided to clamber off his bike and do the stupidest fucking celebration jump I've ever seen. If the term jumping for joy was represented physically, it'd look something like this. Our next race took us to New York on what appeared to be one of its gloomier days, either that or the state's got one hell of a pollution problem. I absolutely rinsed my competitors straight from the starting line and took out Yellow's front tyre as I went. Coming up to my first major corner though, I cut in a bit too soon and ended up hitting the deck. Not to worry though, as the game decided to launch me and my bike back onto the track. A couple of the other racers overtook me and I was catching up before, for no reason whatsoever, my bike decided to flip, sending me sprawling once more. From here on in I had a bit of a fight to get back to first place, but I was able to manage it by taking out both blue and yellow. And after smashing face first into a giant tractor tyre, I cruised my way to the finish line to secure the win, and an idiot celebration. Before my next race I took a moment to upgrade my bike's engine to 125cc 4-stroke, and I stuck a standard aluminised steel exhaust on the baby before, noticing the bike had got a bit grubby after the last 2 races, decided to give it a bit of a clean. Now I did expect the clean button to make the dirt vanish, as is the case in most games, but no, in RMX Real Motocross we're all about the realism, and our rider steps up, rag in hand, and proceeds to smooth the dirt away with a rather erotic manner that looks as though he's gently caressing a lady's thigh. So with both bike and mind clear of filth, it was time once more to hit the dirt, and we were off to Lakewood, Colorado for a spot of night racing. As was getting to be the norm, I took out Green Racer straight from the get-go, and my new 125cc motor left the competitors eating dust as I sailed on past them. After a spot of corner braking, I hit some invisible wall and was thrown from my bike, which carried on ahead. This actually resulted in me getting a bit of a boost, as I was teleported back to my bike and I was able to continue on without much time loss. I came off my bike several times further on in the race, but it didn't seem to matter, and I finished in first place with my competitors nowhere to be seen. The next race took us to the miserable looking Corvallis, Montana, and after a bit of a pile up at the start, I raced on only to crash headlong into a log. It appears that some dick thought it was a good idea to crisscross these fuckers all over the track, and little did I know at this point that these very logs would be my undoing. Second lap round I'd fell into second place, but I saw an opportunity to destroy the leading yellow racer, and I hit a jump with the intent of crashing my tyres into the back of his skull. I overshot though, and my bike crashed into a log, sending me sprawling. Following this I respawned back on my bike, which had somehow managed to get wedged into the log, and I was stuck motionless as the other racers shot past me without a second glance. There was fuck all I could do about it, and after about a minute of revving my engine and wiggling my arms back and forth, my rider decided to gently back himself off the log. But it was too late. I'd lost. Unperturbed, I had enough cash to upgrade my engine to a 254 stroke and jumped back onto the race for another go, this time coming in first. Race 5 in Springfield, Alabama was no different. With my new engine giving me the edge, my competitors didn't stand a chance. I popped a couple of cheeky tricks along the way. One successful, one not so successful. But again, the old teleporting bike trick was there to save the day, and as expected, I came in first. After this I headed back to the garage, where my biker casually dusted all the shit off himself, and I bought him a hot pink costume with some obscenely expensive tiger stripe markings, before heading back out to the races, not bothering to clean off my bike. Race 6 in Buffalo, Florida was a short track which had some nice palm trees and a fuckload of logs for me to plough into. I ended up hitting so many of them that I actually came in second and decided to move on to the next race. Up next was Raspberry Road, a winter wonderland with snowflakes falling gently to snow-clad ground. As we began, I worried about how well my bike's traction would hold up in such a terrain, but it turns out that I needn't have worried, since it actually seemed to perform better. This track was actually my favourite so far, as it featured no tyres and no fucking logs. Just straight up solid ground and a few sweet jumps to catch some air off. Finishing in first place, I moved on to the next race in Wortham, Texas, where the shit-covered landscape returned once more. Now I started off pretty ruthless here, first wiping out the blue straight off the starting line, before bowling my way through the red on the first corner. I had a taste for blood now and began chasing down the lead racer, menacingly revving my engine behind him just to let him know I was about to fuck his shit up. But then the game's stupid fucking collision detection took me off my bike, and I came off a second time at a corner, eventually finishing the race in third place. Distraught, I headed back to the garage and noticed that most of my bike parts were red and in need of repairs. You can't just click once for repairs though, no, that'd be too easy. Each repair for each separate part takes several button presses to complete, and each time you get to hear an irritating drill sound just for good measure. I did have enough cash now though to upgrade to the final engine, a 450cc 4-stroke beast. Heading into race 9 in Munfordville, Kentucky, I felt pretty confident that I was going to rinse a lot of them, and so I shot ahead only to get stuck on the first corner. My new engine wasn't going to let me down though, and I quickly caught up and took my rightful first place position once more. There were no real issues on this track until I got to these big bastard cable drums, which was so steep that my bike couldn't get up them. I had to reset myself back onto the track, but it wasn't long before I hit another that nearly slowed me to a stop. I managed to keep my lead though and complete the 2 laps to claim my first place victory. The 10th and final race of the game took me to Montalba, Texas, where straight off the mark this yellow bastard wiped me out. I began to play catch up, but as soon as we hit this bridge, it's like the other racers hit a hidden fucking nitrous oxide button and rocketed off ahead. Yellow, who had been miles behind, also came tear-assing past me at 1,000,000 miles per hour. I think that all this speed really fucked him up though, as I saw one racer on the deck and another had crashed into some drums. I managed to keep ahead for the rest of the race, despite my arse tweaking a bit as I crossed the bridge, and secured my final first place win. Now the end screen of this final race says that there'll be more tracks coming soon, but I'm willing to bet a pound to a pinch of shit that this is never going to happen, since the game came out in April 2018 and still only has the same 10 tracks. Returning to the garage once more for a look at my trophies, I was missing a couple, and after upgrading my tyres, dampeners and frame, it was back to Florida where I was off to a flying start, leaving the opposition for dust. My new tyres stuck like shit to a blanket and I was practically unstoppable, apart from a few of those fucking logs getting in the way again. After a swift couple of laps, I secured an easy first place win and the Buffalo Desert Golden Trophy. Now there was only one race left to conquer and a debt to settle in Wortham, Texas. As soon as the race began, I was on the fucking warpath. I immediately destroyed the orange racer, followed swiftly by blue, who took me off my bike too. But that wasn't going to stop me. As I completed the first lap, green racer was just up ahead and made the mistake of slowing down for a corner. I saw my opportunity and went in for the kill. A scuffle ensued as we both fought over control of our bikes, but as he hit a log jump, his bike flipped sideways and down he went like a sack of shit. I drove onward to victory and claimed my 10th and final gold trophy, where it now sits alongside the other 9 in my garage's trophy cabinet. So as you can see, RMX Real Motocross is clearly a pretty shitty game. It's a port of a 2-year-old mobile game and has terrible graphics and sound effects. The bikes handle like shite and there are only 10 tracks in total, which equates to about 30 minutes of game time. Now the Switch eShop listing does a good job of not including any game features, and what little description it does have is written in broken English and is basically a load of bollocks. Looking at the Android's game features, we can see things don't get much better. There appear to be a few additional features such as global rankings and multiplayer, but generally it looks to be the same game. I especially like the part where it says RMX is so addictive that you won't be able to stop playing. Well, I'm here to say that that statement is utter bullshit, and the only thing left to do now is to award RMX Real Motocross with its very own Shovelware stamp of approval. I don't know if the mobile version of the game is better, but quite frankly I don't care. The Switch version is dog shit and you shouldn't waste your money on it, unless of course you like the sound of wasps. In which case you can pick up the game on the UK Switch eStore, currently reduced to £5.3p, or on the US eStore for $5.59. Alternatively, you can experience the game in all its glory by downloading it for free from the Google Play or Apple mobile stores. And that's it for this first Shovelware Sunday review. I enjoyed narrating this one in a bit of a different style to my normal reviews, but please let me know what you guys thought of it in the comment section below. And don't forget to leave your suggestions for what you want to see in future Shovelware Sunday reviews. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the review, and don't forget to sub to the channel for future content. Lastly, I want to say thanks once again for watching, and until next time, game on.